even if I laid out every single step, which by the way, you can go Google right now. What are the steps to making seven figures in a business after I have an idea? You probably go Google that right now and you'll get a strategy. That's awesome. And that is only 20% of what will cause you to be successful. I know it's only 20%. Do you know what the other 80% actually is? And the 80%, right? So the 20% is a strategy. Is it necessary? You betcha. That's not where the magic is. The magic is when you, as a human being, start breaking down what has held you back. Hey guys, welcome to episode number 251 of the Game On Girlfriend podcast, where today I'm going to bring you behind the scenes in how a human being actually creates $1 million idea. And no, this is not a gimmick. And I'm not going to go rent a jet and put in some fake AirPods and be like, in 20 minutes, you too can create. No, I don't do that. I don't like that. And I actually call that entrepreneur porn, and it is not welcome on my channel or on my podcast. Yeah. So we're going to agree to that right now. But after being a coach for over 16 years, there was a consistent issue for all of the extraordinary human beings I've had the privilege and honor of working with inside of my business. And that is actually believing something's possible. And when we're up against a world where it looks like everybody's trying to sell something, everybody's being a little slimy, or there's like a gimmick to things, we start to question what's actually real, what's actually authentic, and what actually can happen for a human being like you or me who really wants to make a difference and make a living making that difference. So I'm going to let you inside how I came up with my $1 million idea inside this podcast episode. So pop in those earphones and let's get to it. All right. So how in the world does somebody really come up with $1 million idea? And these days that term gets thrown around a lot, right? Seven-figure business owners. Do you want to scale to seven? All that kind of stuff. But like, how does somebody actually do that? Like, can you and I just sit down, grab some coffee and be like, what is happening here? Well, obviously there's several, if not millions of avenues, right? To really creating a business that can sustain you completely, whether it's six figures, seven figures, whatever those numbers are that appeal to you. How does somebody come up with an idea that can actually generate that much revenue inside of a business? So I'm going to let you inside of how I work with my students inside the Abundance Academy. Now, if you've never heard of the Abundance Academy, it is my signature program. I know it's got an awesome name. We're very proud of it. We were so excited when we came up with it. Yes, but the Abundance Academy with yours truly, Sarah Walton, it was a program I really came up with to answer this question, which was how do I help more people faster? And I didn't want to write a book. I may someday, but at the moment that didn't feel right for me. That might feel right for you. If I ask you that question, hey, how could you help more people faster? You might say, I could write a book. You might say, I'm going to start recording videos. You might say, I want to create an online course. You might say that you want to become a really well-known keynote speaker. All of those are valid options for hitting seven figures. You could also decide you really want to influence people to buy the products and services that you love, and you become an affiliate of those products and services. And that is a great, fantastic way to make a living. All of these things are valid. And all of them answer the question, how can I help more people faster? So I shared with you in the intro that one of the things I've seen, no matter how amazing the woman is that I'm working with, and I mean, I have worked with some powerhouses who are up there killing it, seven, even eight figures. They've done amazing things inside their business, but there's one nagging question. Can I really do it? Is it really for me? Can I really make it happen? And that little niggly doubt starts to come in. And I'm sure you've experienced the same thing. That's for other people. Really common phrase, right? That's for somebody else. And I love to answer that question by saying, God bless Elon Musk. But really, if Elon Musk can do it, I mean, come on. You're going to tell me you really can't do this? Of course you can. So in between the idea and the amount of revenue that can come in, of course, there are steps. There's no doubt there are steps. And you know what? Even if I laid out every single step, which by the way, you can go Google right now. What are the steps to making seven figures in a business after I have an idea? You probably go Google that right now and you'll get a strategy. That's awesome. And that is only 20% of what will cause you to be successful. I know it's only 20%. Do you know what the other 80% actually is? Because that is a math. Yes, it's the Pareto principle, 80-20, right? Like people are like, 80% of your revenue will come from 20% of your customers. That's probably true, right? 80% of any huge result will come from 20%. Yes, but it works the other way too. And the 80%, right? So the 20% is a strategy. Is it necessary? You betcha. It's 20%, and you can Google it right now. That's not where the magic is. The magic is when you, as a human being, start breaking down what has held you back. And I know that's a coachy thing for me to say. I'm a coach. This is what we do, right? We sweep the path in front of you, right? So you can keep walking forward towards your goals. But the other, I think, driving force of a coach, what makes a coach successful is whether or not they can alter human behavior. And that altering of your human behavior, right, as you start to implement any strategy, I don't care what strategy it is, right, as you start to implement that, the 80% that is your mindset from you, from your experiences, from your childhood, from your past, explosions and excitement that didn't land exactly the way you wanted them to, or the other successes you've had, and now you're not able to repeat it and you can't figure out why. Those are things that will have you quit. Those are things that will have you start doing shiny objects. If you're in business, especially in an online business, I want to ask you a question. I want you to just take a deep breath with me. How many times have you redone your website? How many times have you redone your about page or your services page or even your homepage? That kind of shiny object activity, I guarantee you that is happening because you are bumping up against the edges of where you've been before and it starts to get uncomfortable. Why? Well, because you're implementing that strategy you Googled, right? Or that a coach gave you or whatever. And you start to get uncomfortable. You start wondering what people are going to think about you. You start wondering if you're doing it right. You start wondering if, somebody better is going to come along, or if you should have even started this anyway, because aren't there enough of whatever I do already out there? Just happened to a client of mine the other day. She had this amazing idea for a book. And sure enough, I said, go research how to outline it. Please don't look for other books like this. And of course, she went and looked for other books exactly like the one she wanted to write, right? And she got really blue. And that's when we had to have a conversation I absolutely love. And this actually comes from Marie Forleo, who I'm a huge fan of, right? And she said, when people get worried about their competitors, one of the things that she likes to point out is, how many Italian restaurants are in your neighborhood? But you might go to each one for something different, right? Because this one has grandma's pasta recipe, right? The sauce recipe. This one has the best pizza. You cannot beat the salads over here at this one. And you go to them for their expertise or for your favorite piece of everything. But they all exist and they all have customers. That's by design. I like to say, if we were all heart surgeons, who do we call when the house is on fire? We all have a different way to go through life. We have different passions. We have different things we want to teach. We have different ways that we want to be represented, different ways we want to be of service to other people, different ways we want to challenge ourselves and grow. And if we try to do that by ourselves, we get into trouble every time. We were not meant to go through massive expansion periods in our lives by ourselves. And that is another way that I knew I was onto $1 million idea when we came up with the Abundance Academy. And that is that not only were people getting held back by what they thought was real, they didn't have anywhere to go when that thought came up, right? They didn't have a group of people who were up to something just as big as them, a group of people who'd been there or who want to be there or have done this like 4 or 5 times already. And each time they get a little bit better. They didn't have a coach by their side. And they were alone trying to figure this out, which, by the way, they could have figured it out already. They would have figured it out. There's so much that we can see in others that we cannot see in ourselves. One of my favorite examples of this, by the way, was a girlfriend of mine. We wanted her to take this kind of like a personal development expansion program. It was a weekend program. We're like, dude, you got to take this. And the reason why, oh my heavens, this woman was so jealous. Like, oh my gosh, this was before Life 360. I know I'm that old. It was before you could track someone by their location, right? And she was constantly worried about where her boyfriend was. So I was talking to her about this program. I was like, listen, it might kind of help you feel better. It can't feel good to like be this upset all the time. And she said, no, I can see that. I can see that. And I was like, good. Can you please take it? She goes, are you kidding me? I'm not leaving him alone for a weekend. You see what I'm saying? It was kind of like, oh my heavens. Now you and I could see that and go, oh no, really, just it's one weekend. Everything's going to be fine, right? She couldn't see it. You have those. I have those, right? We all have those. And this inside the Abundance Academy was when I knew I was onto something, is that we need our playmates in our sandbox. We need more than just our own minds or even our bestie to help us through these moments where we're trying to expand and we're going beyond where we've been before. The ego starts screaming, this is too big. This is too hard. Who do you think you are? You can't do this. This is for other people, right? All of those things. And I know what they are because we all have the same ones, right? But when they really start attacking because you're expanding, what are you going to do? When you have a group of colleagues to turn to, it makes all the difference in the world, because how many people in your private life are actually entrepreneurs, right? I mean, do you turn to Uncle Joe, who's never started something himself, during all the holiday dinners? Yeah, that'll get you feeling depressed, right? Or if you start taking advice from, someone who lives down the street, who's never started a business and doesn't know what it is to scale or to try to pay a team or freak out when you're having a low cash flow month. You need to be around people who are doing what you're doing. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard, and boy, is it true, and I tell it to people as often as I can, is when you really want to create something amazing, you want to be in rooms with people who've already accomplished what you want to accomplish or who are up to accomplishing the same thing. And that's when I knew I was really onto something and that I was going to attract other female business owners who were up to something. They were ready to move to the next level, or they'd been stuck for a while. We've even had extraordinary human beings come into the Abundance Academy and take like 2 months of like, I got the efforts. I don't know what to do. I've got the efforts, right? And we all get those. It's hard to run a business, right? I always say this is not armchair activity. So when you're looking for yourself in your own business for how to create $1 million idea or how to even generate something at that level, for you, it might be a stretch right now. Maybe you need to start by saying, what's a $3,000 idea that I can execute this month? What's a $5,000 idea I can execute this month, right? And start thinking there. From there, I want you to move to 10,000. From there, I want you to move to 50 and start expanding on what you think is possible. And then as you start to come up against blocks, you've got to have playmates in your sandbox with you, people who know what it is to run a business, people who know the challenges that only we know, the challenges that only we face as we try again and again to show up in this world. That is so critical, right? We show up in this world with service in our big fat hearts and all the things that we want to give the world. And what do they do? Oh, you, right? We are there together. We know what that's like. And that is so unique. It's so special. And it is so critical for those of us who are up to something. Yeah. So as you are looking in your own life, I want you to start to set some stretch goals for yourself. What's the next big step you could take? Where could you expand to start to get towards that $1 million idea? And then I guarantee you pretty soon it's going to be like the $10 million idea. And then from there, the 100 million. These are real numbers. We've watched people do it. As you know, one of my favorite examples for everyone to look to is the extraordinary Taylor Swift, who is now a billionaire because she knows how to tell stories. And I love how she talks about she's not a singer who writes her own songs. She's a songwriter who sings what she writes. And her ability to tell stories has made her a billionaire. That's a skill. And if she can do it, we can do it as well. And don't let anything stop you. If you are interested in joining the Abundance Academy and having other people with you, I want you to click the link below this video or in the show notes. And I want you to start exploring what could happen for you. Where's your next $1 million idea, $10,000 idea, $100,000 idea, $500,000 idea? You need to start exploring that. And then having the tools, the mindset tools, and the strategy, and hopefully a coach at your side, showing you how to make your dreams a reality. I'll see you next time.